Hi, welcome to a special edition of the Arnold Report. And on this special edition of the Arnold Report, I'm joined, as usual, by Mr. Ed Arnold, who's the chairman of the Susquehana Valley Center. Welcome, Ed. We're having this special edition because there's some really pressing developments in Pennsylvania's public policy. We find that the United States Department of Transportation has declined Pennsylvania's petition to place tolls on Route I-80. This was a central part of how we were going to finance the maintenance and the construction of roads in Pennsylvania and to make up the deficit for SEPTA, the mass transit in Philadelphia, and PAT, the mass transit in Pittsburgh. And we find that since this has been turned down, our Act 44, which was developed 2 years ago, has now collapsed. We find that Act 44 was based on tolling Route I-80 and increasing tolls on the turnpike. Without the tolls on I-80, we find now Governor Rendell has declared a special session of the state legislature. How can we fund our roads and highways without Act 44, Ed?
Well, right now, let's look, where are we? Where are we right now is number one, our number one tax is fuel. Next is license plates. And then finally is your personal registration.
These are all monies that go towards
this all goes into the highway fund, which pays for these things, and also our public transportation, as you pointed out, plus your fines and so on, state police. And of course, part of state police is paid for out of these funds because the part that it patrols the roads. Realistically, where are we in Pennsylvania? I think we should look. Right now, our fuel taxes are among the highest, we're definitely in the highest 10% of the states. Our other taxes, our registration fee, our plates on our vehicles, and for that matter, even our fines, are probably more in the middle of the pack. And they say, well, gee, if you raise slightly your license plates or your thing, it won't mean that much. Well, if you raise them substantially, put us in the top 10%. If that's where we have to be, then why put it on fuel tax, which is a regressing tax? Regressing because America is going to be successful, I believe, in using less fuel.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is, to catch our breath for a second, this is one of the most common suggestions in lieu of Act 44, that we would simply increase our gas taxes. Because the gas tax is in place right now and they haven't been increased for 10 years. That's the refrain, that this would be the easiest way to raise money. But you're saying that...
I think we should increase all our taxes. Not only has our fuel tax not been increased for over 10 years, none of our other taxes have either. Mm-hmm. So therefore, why, especially when you're looking at the fuel taxes 10 years from now, it is going to be, we're going to be buying less and less fuel. This is not going to solve your problem.
We're going to buy less fuel because more fuel-efficient vehicles.
That's correct. That we will have electric cars. We will have more hybrid cars. We may even have other technologies, but we know, based on the federal law, new vehicles will be more fuel efficient. Mm-hmm. How that's going to be accomplished, but I think it's a fair statement, it will be. So therefore, to say we're going to increase fuel tax, well, we should increase all the taxes. We shouldn't put any one, but right now we're talking about a tremendous amount of money. And of course the other question is, should the highway taxes pay for the public transportation? Mm-hmm. That still is, well, we said, well, this is a user well, the people that are using the highways aren't on public transportation. The reason we are in a major deficit here, I assume, and I honestly don't know the nitty-gritty details here, is because of this tremendous amount of money we're taking out of the highway funds to fund public transportation, which is, we know, by definition, not very efficiently run. Mm-hmm. I would like to point out one other thing, too. I happen to be a user of Amtrak. And Amtrak recently, I can say one thing, they're using it a lot more. The train was by far double the fullest I've ever seen it go into New York, but the rates were also 25% higher. Mm-hmm. It was by far, I was amazed. My secretary pointed out to me, she said, you realize I did get you your best rate, and this is what it is now. Mm-hmm. So they have substantially raised the rates. I doubt if our commuting transportation because of politically unhappiness have raised their rates substantially.
The funding of highways is so critical of a problem here in Pennsylvania, though, Ed, because certainly, and I would welcome your comments on this, in that Pennsylvania is the most rural state in the Union. We have the largest percentage of people that live outside of metropolitan areas. And to get to all these little hamlets in different corners of Pennsylvania, we've established roads. Consequently, Pennsylvania, as you know, has more state highways than all of New England, New York, and New Jersey combined. So we have so many roads, and then you combine that with Pennsylvania's weather patterns, where we have this freezing and thawing, and water gets in cracks in the roads, it tears the roads apart, and that makes road maintenance such a challenge in Pennsylvania. And I guess this is one of the reasons why we need to look at funding. We've seen Car and Driver did a survey, an annual survey for years, and it said that Pennsylvania had the worst roads for many, many years. The Ridge administration came into office, and Tom Ridge appointed Tom Larson, who's a very capable Secretary of Transportation, and the roads have improved. What do you see as the future of Pennsylvania's roadway?
Well, first of all, I guess I would say, let's look at reality. The cost of maintaining roads, whether they were good roads, bad roads, or whatever, just the cost of maintaining has gone up drastically. Most of our roads are asphalt. Asphalt has probably doubled in price. In the last, actually since 1997, which is the last time we had any kind of increases, they have at least doubled the cost.
How does that compare with concrete roads then?
Concrete roads, because they use a lot of energy to create concrete and so on, I'm assuming that they relative, well, concrete roads were way more expensive.
Okay.
So therefore,
so
we are
both
an asphalt.
have gone up in price.
They have gone up, I'm sure. Well, first of all, your labor to do the roads, period, has gone up. So there's no question, how can you have a system where the costs have doubled and you haven't increased the revenue? This doesn't make any sense. Now, if in fact there are more people driving, which means the revenue would slightly go up, but that isn't the fact. The number of registered drivers in Pennsylvania hasn't particularly increased. Therefore, the number of cars licensed hasn't. It has increased, but not that much, and therefore the amount of miles driven. They've all increased somewhat, single digits. We're talking about the cost of the highway maintaining them has doubled. Everything else is going up. You increase your taxes, and we haven't done it.
So what would be your recommendation to the General Assembly in this special session that they're having now to consider how to fund transportation funding in the future, how to fund our roadways and our bridges? What would your recommendations be?
I would say that you would look upon all your revenue sources and basically look upon and increase probably more so your others rather than the fuel, because the fuel already is quite high compared to your neighbors. One of the problems in Pennsylvania is that the people that drive through it, because our taxes are higher and therefore fuel is more expensive, tend not to buy their fuel in Pennsylvania, specifically trucks. Unfortunately, there are thousands of little trucking companies. You cannot afford to audit them. A truck can easily drive across the state of Pennsylvania and buy no fuel, so it pays no taxes in Pennsylvania. My solution would be to get them to pay, would be to form a consortium of maybe all of New England, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania as an audit service. The audit would cost exactly the same. I know, I was in trucking. The auditor comes in, he looks at your total miles, allocates them by all the states, and then says, here's the amount in Pennsylvania, here's the tax you owe. So it would cost no more to audit whether you're doing it for all the states or just for Pennsylvania, and now you could afford to audit the companies that are 10 and 20 trucks. Now they're going free in Pennsylvania.